Hey, we're about to start the show live. What do you think the open one? Last one. Yeah. Yeah. What can I say? Yep. All right.
From our Southern California studios, welcome to the Unscared Sports Show. I am Doug Katona along with
Brian Mackenzie.
And it is Tuesday. That's right, Tuesday. We're going one day earlier than normal. Why are we doing that?
I'm leaving.
He's leaving. He's going to New Jersey for a while. So all of you on the East Coast, if you want to track him down, he's staying at... Never mind.
No.
You don't want to go there.
No.
It is the 27th of March, and we've got a great show today. These shows are quick. They're 30 minutes, so if you want to hit us on Facebook, tweet us, do what you need to do to get your questions answered. It's going to be a heavy question and answer at the end because we do have a special guest today, Steve Ozmai from Skins, talking compression and recovery. We get a lot of questions on compression and recovery, don't we?
Yeah. It's a mandatory deal with my athletes. Compression. And I'm sure a lot of people have been hearing Starrett talk about it too. So,
and speaking of recovery, a lot of people are probably happy that the open wads are over, right?
I am. From a coaching perspective,
yeah,
yes.
Two coaches here that are happy that we don't have to worry about programming around the open wads anymore, right?
Correct. No more. Just full train ahead towards the regionals now.
It's funny because when we program out, we usually go about a week at a time, and I don't know about you, but I was revising programs frequently because you didn't know what was going to pop up.
Yeah, I'm a little bit less. I program probably out till Wednesday, and then I start to feel things go. But yeah, it was constant reevaluation of what it is that, whatever the WOD was, and you know what, this last WOD. I had a couple athletes that actually did thrusters and a pull, although they were doing rope climbs the week of. But it's what are you gonna do?
It's CrossFit.
How do you know that it's right? It is CrossFit.
So I think that I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to me. I mean, obviously, no surprises at the top of the leaderboard. Rich Froning, of course, on top. The guy pretty much destroyed everything. I think he got 34th in one, and then he got a couple of firsts, a second and a third. Were you surprised by that, or did you see that coming?
I expect it of him. From what I know of Rich, and I've talked with him a little bit at last year's games, and watching him move, I'm not surprised. He's young. He's hungry. He can handle volume. He can. He shows his capacity, and he moves well. In that first WOD demo, homeboy can snatch, dude, and those were clean snatches. That was not, and as the weight climbed, Rich automatically would drop a little deeper, and he'd still be opening that hip completely, and he'd still be shrugging, and still, and not that Dan Bailey's not a great athlete, but you could see the dysfunction start to occur within Dan Bailey. And although he was only a few reps off, that whole process starts to take its toll down the road. So I think that's that's something a lot of people really need to start to pay attention to, is how well we're moving.
Well, I think not only how well you're moving when you're training, but what happens when I think this year more than ever, people have to move better, because you're going to get fatigued. You're going to start to break down. And what's your default? Do you try to kind of muscle your way through things, or can you default back to good skill, technique, and good movement so you're not leaking energy, as a lot of people would say now? But I mean, do you agree with that?
I totally agree with it. And a lot of people in this, in my opinion, is a lot of people in this open are going to get away with a lot of shit, a lot of it. And I can mark my words, and I'm okay with being wrong. So if I'm wrong about this, I'm fine with it. But I'm saying it now. Regionals is going to shatter quite a few people who are sitting up top. I put money on it.
I would have to put money on that as well. We both of us probably traveled to no less than 10 or 12 boxes during the open, and I saw a lot of movement and a lot of reps that are going to be difficult to.
That you're not going to get away with on the public level, and a serious judge going on.
Yeah. So on the women's side, I guess no surprise, Chris Cleaver, 3 wins in the open one.
No, not a lot of surprise. Sick capacity, and lever systems that worked very well with what got programmed.
Yeah. Speaking of lever systems, our guest last week, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet. Did I say that right?
I think so.
She completely annihilated everybody on that last WOD with 174, 175.
Destroyed. What was Rich's score? Wait, did he win that one?
I'm not real sure.
Who's the winner of that on the guys' side?
He'll check that out right now, but I got to tell you, that's what happens when you're on the Unscared show, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's just all of a sudden your numbers go up and things happening. I did notice Dave Lipson also moved up a little bit. So
Dave
did move up. So congratulations, Dave and Camille. Outstanding efforts.
Wait. What'd she score?
I want to say 170. I mean, completely obliterated. That's like the NFL score.
Rich took third at 161. And where's first place? I don't see the men's first place.
But I know
down here a little. I mean, second was 162.
I mean, her win was like an NFL score of 49-7. If you look at it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was like game over, and that was only in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Mind you.
Hello. Retarded.
So, and I guess another big surprise to me was Julie Fouché, 2nd overall.
She's been pretty consistent. I don't know if she's been redoing WODs. I'm not going to assume she is. I'm just, but I know she's a gym. I know she's got a background of being a gymnast. Hey, we watched her from the beginning being out front. So,
and so those are some of the normal names we saw. A big surprise, I think, to me, and shout out to local Orange Coast CrossFit, Ken Leverich, 3rd overall on the planet. And not a lot of people knew about this guy. We've seen him before, but
where did we see him?
How about that? I think we saw him at one of the local competitions once or twice. Big boy.
Oh, he's a big boy.
He can move pretty well. So congratulations, Ken. So I think, and then along with that,
not that big, 170 pounds, 5'8".
That's bigger than me. So I think that those are some of the obvious things that we saw, but what I also noticed was, I don't know if it was fatigue. I don't know if it was surprise. I don't know if it was people doing too many of the double WODs during the week that caught up to them. There was a lot of athletes that imploded on that final WOD.
Shattered.
I mean,
I just got off the phone with Kelly Starrett right before I got on that, right before we started this, and you had me ask him what he thought, right. And I totally agree with him, and we were talking about this, is that that last WOD, the brilliance in that workout, one is that anybody is good in the first 3 to 5 minutes, right? And then all of a sudden you start climbing out a little bit further, and that workout continually gets more and more difficult. And I watched one of the guys that I coach, Brian Diaz. I actually counted for him as he went through it, and he did 141, which is damn good. I could see him turning blue as it went on, and it was a shade of blue I hadn't seen before, but it was interesting because he moves well. And it was a workout that suited him because he's got a great capacity, and the fact is he got better. He was able to continue, and guys like Rich, like I've been mentioning, it's when you have that capacity and you move well, that workout is designed especially for you because it's just going to get worse and worse, baby. And I think we started to see some of that shattering of glass.
It was really cool when we saw Brian Diaz out in Austin, Texas this last weekend, and I got to tell you, he, I get it with all the lever lengths and so on and so forth, but he is moving well. You're helping him move well. But what was really surprising to me with him, and I guess I'm sure this is with Rich and what I've noticed with some of the top athletes, they'll get through the workout, and you told him when he was done right away, whereas most people are going to be twitching on the ground.
Yeah.
What did you tell him to do right after?
He went and walked. I had him go on a walk, basically like 5-10 minute walk, just to cool it down, which has been a very big topic as of lately with us. And Starrett just posted a warm up on MWAD that he asked me to do because it is a common theme that we've done training camps, we go to seminars. I cannot tell you how long, how many boxes, how many places I've been, and how many athletes I've seen, and the warm up and the cool down just don't exist. It's
or
not
they,
even,
or they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So they just kind of, I'll squat, I'll grab a PVC pipe or whatever. But yeah, it's really important. So anyway, open WODs are over. It's regional time. People are trying to recover, and we want to bring on our first guest right now, talking about recovery. We want to bring on Steve Ozmai from Skins Compression Gear, and he's been a good friend of ours for a while. And Steve, welcome to the show. Come on.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me to Unscared Stage 1A, huh?
That's it.
Stage 1A.
Thank you.
Steve, how are you?
So Steve, we've known you for a while. We know a lot about you, but we're probably going to be asking you things that you didn't expect us to ask you, so be prepared for that. We just talked open WOD. Did you get a chance to watch the scoreboard? What'd you think?
Yeah, I did. I mean, there's a group of us in the office that are now following it pretty regularly. I mean, we're checking in every day to see the scores, see where the athletes are that we've been following for the past several years. And for me personally, it's really pretty amazing to see not only the growth of CrossFit. I think we got involved back in 2008 or 2009. I remember camping in the RV up at Aromas, and it's been pretty incredible to see the growth through the open of 70,000 athletes registering for this thing and how this thing has exploded, which we saw early on. Yeah. But also to see where some of the athletes that we were following in the beginning have ended up even with this expansion. You have a lot of these guys that we were following in Aromas still in the top 10, top 20, top 50. And when you're talking about the amount of athletes now that they're competing against, I think it really speaks to the nature of CrossFit and how successful that is in training the body for these movements, because you have athletes that have been doing other things, maybe the top of their game in their segment, and they're coming in, and the CrossFit guys that have been in it for 5 years are still in this top 50. It's been amazing. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
So has it motivated you to CrossFit again?
Absolutely.
I know we were talking about that the other day.
It's starting. It's going to start very soon. I actually did go to a couple classes down at CrossFit Carlsbad, and it kicked my ass. I couldn't walk down the stairs 2 days later, but I might be in your garage soon. You never know.
Studio 1A.
Or Studio 1A, yeah. I don't think we want that filmed.
Yeah, if you could all, if you were all here right now, you would see motorcycles, bikes, treadmills, chains, racks, rowers, and along with producer
climber.
Yeah, and producer Eli Rodriguez sitting over there off on another couch. But
Ole.
So Steve, recovery is huge, and we talk about it all the time with our athletes. We usually talk about what to do after training or with nutrition. What we don't talk about is compression, and Skins has something called gradient compression. I know there's a lot of people are doing compression, and we've looked at the product for a long time and explained the difference. What does gradient mean? And I know you have dynamic gradient, so
absolutely,
just real quick, explain that.
It's a great question. Yeah, I think this category of compression is evolving right now. It's exploding actually, and so there's been a lot of misinformation out there that's being spread right now, and so really there are really three categories of compression. There's true gradient compression, which has been used in the medical environment for years. That's what doctors have been prescribing for, post-surgical applications. If you have vein surgery, varicose veins, women wear them in pregnancy. So that's true medical grade gradient compression. It's designed to treat an insufficiency of some kind. And there are various levels of gradient compression. Then you have what is common in the sports world right now. If you walk into any big box retailer, you see the word compression on hang tags of all kinds of different products, and that's what we like to call tight fit, because it is tight to the skin, but as far as where it's tight and why, there's not a lot of science behind what pressure levels are being applied to which muscles. So where skins comes in, and where this concept of gradient compression for athletes comes in, and dynamic gradient compression, is we are a kind of a hybrid of medical grade compression designed for athletes. So taking all the benefits of the new, non-cotton materials for moisture wicking and muscle support and all of those things, but adding in a medical benefit of gradient compression, which is much easier said than done, because in one of the ways that you achieve a positive benefit to compression is by controlling specific pressure levels across the body. So in the case of skins and any gradient compression, what that means is you have high pressure at the extremities and low pressure at the core.
Yeah, but so does that matter then? So if you're wearing compression out there, does it really matter? Are there specific areas of the body that you think, with endurance athletes especially, or CrossFit athletes, is there, you see people wearing the calf tights, and we wear the recovery when we travel a lot. Are there specific areas of the body that seem to benefit more from compression versus others?
Absolutely. The entire Skins company was actually founded on one product. It was a unisex long tight. That was the first product that Skins developed. And the reason they developed a long tight is because the lower body houses the biggest muscles in the body, and they're obviously furthest from the heart. So these muscles, the deep veins within these muscles, are the ones that have to fight gravity to get deoxygenated blood back to the heart. So what's interesting and what's kind of counterintuitive when we talk compression and long tights is that actually wearing a long tight can increase total body circulation, because the circulatory system is as a closed loop. If you can increase the amount of deoxygenated blood you bring up out of the legs and return that blood to the heart, it can be reoxygenated and then recirculated to the entire body. So a lot of our research is based purely on wearing the long tight, and that's where you find the benefits in muscle oxygenation, the reduction of blood lactate, and all these things that translate to performance benefits and also recovery benefits.
Now, is that stuff scientifically proven? Because I know a lot of people question that.
Question.
They want to know. I mean,
It with Skins, it is. Every claim that Skins makes is the result of scientific evidence and proof. And I brought along with me, we've got a research, we call this our research Bible. But this is through 2007, so this is already 5 years old. This is the research that's been done on the product. Now this is a lot of what separates Skins from the competition and from the other compression garments out there is that all of our studies are peer-reviewed, independently published in medical journals. So I was telling you earlier, we had a study that was just published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. Now, obviously, independent peer-reviewed doesn't mean that alone is something that supports the product and means it works. There are findings that have to be statistically significant in this research. So all the claims we make, whether it's 5 to 15% improvement in endurance, 60 to 80% reduction in delayed onset muscle soreness, those are based specifically on findings from this research. So that's where I think Skins has led the industry. We currently are the only brand with independent peer-reviewed research on the product. And they currently lead we have, I think, 10 studies published and another 3 pending publications. So research has been a pillar of the company since day one.
So based on what you said then, and something kind of caught my attention when we were talking about specific areas of the body then, you see a lot of people in CrossFit. You see some of it in the endurance world, triathletes wearing the calf.
Yeah.
You see that. I mean, is there research out there that shows that wearing it during competition actually helps, or is that kind of a non-issue because you have
there's a study on runners using the calf compression that help. Yeah,
on both that. Calf compression and long tights. And most of the research right now is based on endurance activities, and this is where we're actually pushing our research institute to start doing some investigation into things like CrossFit, because this is the new way of becoming the world's fittest man and woman. It is no longer about this specific training for an Ironman.
Well, I know that Brian was out I think about 2 years ago. Brian decided to go for a little run in 120-degree heat in Death Valley. Just another day in the life. And he wore the ice gear.
Yep. Big fan of the ice gear. I'm a big fan of all of it. In fact, I mean, we've had a relationship with Steve for a while because I'm a big fan of compression. I've always been a big fan of compression. In fact, we're leaning more towards compression and getting rid of ice because there's things that, certain people, I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but they're avoiding using ice for post surgery. They're no longer doing it. We're just doing compression. Every one of my athletes, I've got using some sort of compression. All of them, when they fly, they're using compression when they fly. At night, I want them using compression. It's a few of them don't, but they just don't like the feel of it. But the fact is that the Olympic athletes that we're working with, that they're using compression all the time. It's part of recovery. In fact, you go look, when we were at the training center, they had a Normatec system. Which is all compression, and basically what it does is the Normatec stuff goes from one area of the leg and works its way, just funneling that blood and making sure that it goes. And I've seen incredible results with this stuff,
which I think is really important for a lot of CrossFitters because we're always traveling, right?
Yeah.
And
I'll get on a plane for 5+ hours tomorrow, and I'll be in the recovery tights. I'll get off that plane, and I won't feel like I just flew.
And it's amazing. Yeah.
It's what that's every time I've flown, whether that's 12 hours to London, down to South America, to Miami, or to the East Coast, and that's all from Southern California.
Just make sure this time that you wear shorts over it.
Yes.
And I think that's part of that's part of the growth of Skins, is people finally getting to experience this technology. Because one of the challenges that we've had from day one is you put Skins on a mannequin and you put Under Armour or Nike or Reebok or whatever on a mannequin, they all look the same. You put them on, they actually kind of feel the same. But you wear them for 6 hours, you wear them for 8 hours, and the way you feel the next day is unbelievable. And that's where we've started to get people finally believing the science and understanding how the compression works, and now starting to use it pretty religiously. And especially, I think the reason we've found this little community in CrossFit is partly the same reason we find the same following with the NFL athletes and the NHL athletes, is you're training on a different level. You're training at max capacity, and there is, with the runner that's been running 6 miles a day for 5 years, the whole principle of adaptation. I mean, you're not. Those guys aren't sore anymore. They don't go home.
There's no adaptation. That's called a plateau. That's called done.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And with CrossFit, it's just a different world.
Well, I mean, you've been talking about the tights and the cap, and we wear it all the time, I know. And as a cyclist, I've been wearing the arm warmers.
Yeah. And
they feel fantastic. But hey, look, I mean, it's got to look good too, right?
True. Yeah, of course.
So,
I mean, yeah, we always say, I mean, it's form following function. Form is definitely still a component, but it's definitely form following function. And that's one of the things that's unique too about Skins, is that if you look at our products, like our A400 long tight, for example, and I was going to bring a sample, but if you just check it out on the website, it's got 23 panels. So there are 23 different panels that are sewn into that product. Now, if you can imagine the manufacturing process, that's not an easy thing to do. Most companies cut the panels for maximum yield of fabric, and we're actually cutting panels specifically to achieve targeted compression on certain muscle groups. So there are some things that are dictated by, in order to achieve a maximum increase in venous return, you have to have these certain panels to increase pressure in these certain areas.
Well, and I think it's interesting too how you we've been talking about CrossFit and endurance athletes because that's what we do, but I know you have other athletes that people may not know about that are actually wearing the gear successfully. One, Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, Tony Kanaan. Yeah, he actually wears it in the race car. He's now an Ironman competing triathlete, competes in Kona. The guy is just ripped. Met him at Interbike. He's just an animal. He actually trains CrossFit. Trains CrossFit down in Miami. So, and I who knows if, that's how he found us. But yeah, he swears by the product. And I think, again, when you're training with that intensity, a lot of times people don't consider an IndyCar driver an athlete, but I talk to them about what it takes to go through a race, an Indy 500.
They should go watch. I think what is it, Jimmy Johnson, who's the NASCAR guy?
Yeah.
They did a documentary on following him for a season. Homeboy trains his ass off. Like most of those guys are training their tails off, and if they're not, that's why they're not Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's why
exactly.
they're not
Good
Tony
point.
Kanaan,
Good point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you were telling me too tonight you've got St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, we are now the official recovery compression of the St. Louis Blues. So their trainer contacted us, and now we outfitted their entire team in recovery compression. So again, it speaks to compression and recovery. No one 5 years ago ever thought compression and recovery together. Very few people had ever heard of compression for recovery. It was all the big, football player protect this house compression on field. It was all about just non-cotton and muscle support.
It kind of sounds familiar, right? No one thought strength and conditioning for endurance athletes 5 years ago, right?
Weird.
Yeah.
So
strange.
Yeah. Good deal. So I think that obviously we're going to see more and more of this.
Yeah.
It's not going away. It's here to stay. It's not something that was just a fashion statement for a while. There's medical. There's science behind it now. We do it. We wear it. We believe in it. So I think that's good stuff. So, before we start to close out here, what you don't know is sometimes if we have a guest on, we'd like to fire questions at them that they didn't really know.
Go for it.
So, you got a favorite CrossFit athlete?
Oh, you're gonna put
You
me
have a
on the
man
spot
crush on
like
anybody?
that, huh? I've been following Kalipa since day one. So I still, he comes by our booth every time we're at the games and says hi and says, love what you guys are doing. I'm still a Kalipa fan.
So if Jason comes by and pops over at the games, you'll give him a pair of socks or something, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't give product to athletes, all right?
Well,
Just kidding.
I saw you on Saturday or Sunday. We were doing a little photo shoot, and we were talking about CrossFit, and you were saying, you travel so much, and you've been eating like crap. So what have you been eating crappy?
Pretty much everything. I eat all of the wrong things for CrossFit.
That's awesome.
Way too many carbs, not enough protein. I'm telling you, I'm coming to your house and you're going to get me on a program because and the reason I told you that is because I'm training.
Don't let the Apache.
And I'm not getting any faster.
Put you on the fighter diet.
And then I see you taking these laps. See you on the bike going 40 miles an hour in 100 feet and think maybe you might be able to show me a thing or two.
Well, you don't have to worry about me if you come over on the food side, right?
No.
Yeah, because you don't eat.
Well, no, I eat. I'm on the 80.
Un poquito. That's what he eats. Dude.
I'm on the 80-20 plan, but
That 20% is cookies and
so healthy. It's my wife you got to watch out for.
Oh, yeah.
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 You'll have more broccoli slaw and cabbage.
I'm okay
then
with
you'll know
that.
what to do with.
See, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as I don't have to make it myself, that's where I get in trouble.
the house smells like a giant fart, dude. It's just like cooked cabbage and just like all. I'm like, oh, walk in there. I'm like, oh,
Sounds pleasant.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's usually at my house in the morning. It's like well, your kitchen's no different though. If you see his kitchen, there's probably more potions, pills, and powders because we're always experimenting with some things, and which is going to be what we're going to talk about in the next show. But I'm telling you, you've got like a chemical lab in there.
yeah. You should be your own experiment. That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
we need a CrossFit Endurance Cribs episode.
No, we are not. We are not doing
The
that.
refrigerator
and people
open.
are not getting access. I'm over social media. I'm over people wanting to know more. It's not happening.
All right, man. We really appreciate you being on the show.
Now, thank you guys. You guys have been great supporters of us, and yeah, we're really looking forward to growing with CrossFit Endurance, and you're going to see a lot more skins. We've got some really interesting thing planned for the next. Through the end of 2012, you're going to see a lot more of skins nationwide. It's exciting stuff.
You'll be at the games.
We will be at the games.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
everybody can stop by and
Be at the games. We'll probably be at the SoCal Regionals and the Northwest Regionals as well. So
Great.
come by and say hi. And
Steve Ozmai, make sure you stop by and bother him as much as possible. He loves talking. So we've known him for a long time. Good guy. So thanks for being on the show.
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Final thoughts on the show. What do you think? Any final thoughts on the Open WOD? Looking forward to regionals. What do you think is going to happen at regionals now? Are we settled? I mean, give us in 60 seconds. What should athletes be focusing on now in prep for the regionals? Should they train straight through? And I know what I'm doing with my athletes. What do you think?
Well, every one of my athletes training just went click, and we'll see how they handle the week. Meaning the volume, the intensity, everything's kind of going up. We're doing more multiples. We're doing or integrated multiples, but we're getting them ready to handle a regional atmosphere. Because that's what's going to happen. So they've got to, and this is why I think that we're just going to see a shattering. I think we're going to see true. It's like this last workout, number 5. You've got to have good mechanics. You've got to move well in order to get it done. And that chest to bar pull up is a great example of that, because having to retract those shoulders in order to touch that bar with that chest, there's no more rubbernecking. There's no more flopping around. There's no more brokenness to it. And if there is, you're not doing well. So
Good thoughts. No, I agree with that. So we want to thank Steve Ozmai from Skins for being on today. The next show in 2 weeks, we are going to talk nutrition, which is going down a rat hole. But we're not afraid to tell everybody what we've been doing and what we think and what science has been showing us. We're going to talk a little bit about that on the next show. We're going to talk protein, fat, and a few surprises you may not know about.
nice.
Stay tuned for the next show, 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning into the Unscared Sports Show.